There is a religious war going on in this country. It is a cultural war as critical to the kind of nation we shall be as the Cold War itself. Bill Clinton and Al Gore represent the most pro-lesbian and pro-gay ticket in history. It's not the kind of change we can abide in a nation we still call God's country.
Today I call upon the Congress to promptly pass and to send to the states for ratification an amendment to our Constitution defining and protecting marriage as the union of a man and woman as husband and wife. Marriage cannot be severed from its cultural, religious, and natural roots without weakening the good influence of society.
Notice the date there, right? That was President George W. Bush, February 2004, running for re-election against these advances in gay rights that threatened civilization, that threatened to bring down the nation. In 2004, that year, the Republican Party supported ballot initiatives in 11 states banning gay rights. That not only had the effect of materially hurting gay people all over the country, but they also hoped it would drive up turnout of voters motivated by anti-gay prejudice. So come for the chance to hurt your gay neighbor, stay for the re-electing of George W. Bush. But at the same time that George W. Bush was standing there in the Roosevelt Room pledging the power of the presidency and a change to the U.S. Constitution to stop these terrifying gay people who were coming to destroy our civilization, the Bush administration was also leaking word that personally George W. Bush was actually totally cool with gay people. Mr. Bush's friends say that the president is quite comfortable with gays. The president's wife, quoted by the New York Times, saying that, of course, she and the president had gay friends. The White House also apparently leaking a story about Mr. Bush being not at all offensive toward a former Yale classmate who was transgender. The idea was that we were all supposed to be assured that even though the president was trying actively, as a politician with his power as president, to make gay people's lives harder in this country, to stop the advancement of gay rights and to roll it back where he could, we're supposed to feel personally assured by the fact that personally he is all right with gay people. This is a constant in American anti-gay politics, even just in the career of George W. Bush. This is from I want to read you something this is from the Lewiston, Idaho Morning Tribune. It's from August 1999 when George W. Bush was running for president for the first time. Listen to this, quote, George W. Bush, for example, has said he opposes allowing gay couples to adopt children. I believe children ought to be adopted in families with a woman and a man who are married, the Texas governor said months ago. But after he said that, Governor Bush told a gay legislator he doesn't mean that personally. Texas State Rep Glenn Maxey, the state's only openly gay legislator, says that last April, Bush talked with him during a visit to the House chamber. Quote, he put his hands on my shoulders and he pulled me in close. We were nose to nose. He says to me, Glenn, I value you as a person and I value you as a human being. And I want you to know that what I say publicly about gay people does not pertain to you personally. But to the extent that I can take away your rights and destroy your family, I'm going to do everything in my power to do that. With Ronald Reagan, it was sort of the same thing. At a time when Republicans were all but applauding the deaths of tens of thousands of Americans from AIDS, on the basis of the idea, which is still prevalent in some circles, that AIDS was God's punishment for homosexuality and therefore should be sort of welcomed as it killed lots of Americans. In the midst of that environment in the Republican Party at the time, Ronald Reagan, as president, did nothing to stop the AIDS epidemic and could not bring himself to even say the word AIDS in public until 7 years into his presidency, at which point tens of thousands of Americans had already been killed by AIDS. But apparently, personally, he was really nice about gay people. Do you care? They think you'll care. So President Reagan's daughter publishes a piece in Time magazine talking about how she watched a movie in the White House with her father when he was president, and he explained to her while they were watching the movie that Rock Hudson was gay, and he said that, quote, in the same tone that would be used if he had been telling me about people with different color eyes. Aw. Does that make you feel better or worse about tens of thousands of dead Americans and the president not saying a word about it? In the case of the Clinton administration, as president, he made lots of gay appointments. We're told that he had very pro-gay intentions, which may make you feel great. But in policy, the gay rights legacy of the Bill Clinton administration is the Defense of Marriage Act and Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Awesome. Does the president's personal feeling about gay people make that policy legacy any better or worse? Not substantively. But the connection between personal beliefs and the wielding of political power is a very, very thin connection on this issue. So when George W. Bush writes on page 69 of his memoir, Decision Points, when he pats himself on the back for telling Vice President Dick Cheney that, quote, I could not care less about the sexual orientation of Dick Cheney's daughter, Mary, when he pats himself on the back about that, about how personally tolerant he is, that does not make me feel better about George W. Bush's record as a virulently anti-gay campaigner who got reelected in part on the strength of his commitment to blocking gay rights and making gay people's lives more miserable. It does not make me feel better about that. Knowing that he was personally okay with gay people actually sort of makes me feel more disgusted about that. Not everybody feels the same way about this. But personally, I don't much care about a politician's personal beliefs. I care about whether a politician hurts people in their job as a politician. Whether you are using your power to hurt people is the relevant thing, not how you feel about it privately while you're doing that. That's always been my belief on it, personally. The flip side to that, as a matter of principle, is what's going on in the Barack Obama administration. The Barack Obama administration has been very, very, very pro-gay rights. They have pursued at every level policies to improve the lives of gay Americans and to further gay rights. It's not just repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell. It's expanding federal benefits for the same-sex partners of people who work in the executive branch. It's signing the Hate Crimes Act into law. It's clearing the way for hospital visitation rights for same-sex couples. It's lifting the travel and immigration ban for people living with HIV. It's ordering the Federal Housing Authority to not consider the sexual orientation of people who apply for housing loans. It's expanding the census, even, to make sure that people in same-sex relationships get counted. It's directing U.S. agencies who work with foreign countries to ensure that our humanitarian and diplomatic efforts abroad take into account the rights of gay and lesbian people in those other countries. It's supporting states who are trying to extend marriage rights to same-sex couples. The administration did not always do that. They didn't, for example, do that before the vote on same-sex marriage rights in New York State, but they do that now. They did that before the vote that was lost yesterday in North Carolina. It's taking the huge step of refusing to defend the constitutionality of Bill Clinton's gay rights disaster in the Defense of Marriage Act. If you are in favor of gay rights, the Barack Obama administration has been great on the issue of gay rights, while before today, never saying what the president's personal view is on same-sex couples getting married. We treat presidents like they're celebrities. We are all curious about all of these personal things about them, including who their friends are and what they like in a person and what their prejudices might be. But ultimately, what presidents do is they wield political power. And even before today, that legacy of the first term of the Barack Obama presidency was already clear. Today, he added to that. He added icing to that. The cake was already baked. The legacy was already secure by his actions as president, by what his administration had done. The legacy was also already secure before he took this extra step today. This was something extra. This is something not necessary to secure his legacy here. This is above and beyond. And it is not without risk. And now, having said these words publicly that no president has ever said before, now we get to see how this changes the country. Democratic Congressman Barney Frank of Massachusetts joins us next.